any pomp and circumstance. There was hardly any ceremony at all. Jesus prayed, and Lazarus went from being dead and decaying in the tomb to walking into the sunlight, well and alive. The end result of Lazarus' illness was not death, as we first thought. Instead, just like Jesus said way back at the beginning of our reading, Lazarus is alive. Death was merely a stopping point along the way. It was not the end result, and it did not have the final say. Also, just like Jesus predicted, Lazarus' illness, death, and resurrection brought praise and glory to God. The next verse after this reading ends, that we don't get included in this reading, says, "Many of the people who had come to visit Mary saw what Jesus did, and they believed in him." God is glorified. Like Martha before them, the people put their faith in Jesus. Not only is Lazarus given new life, but the people there are given a faith revival, and they believe. When Jesus shows up, there is new life for everyone. When Jesus shows up in our lives, there is new life there too. Jesus can walk into our driest, most dead places and bring about resurrection. Relationships restored, hope resurrected, excuse me, life made whole, better than it ever was before. When Jesus arrives in our dead places, there is amazing new life. Jesus can bring that resurrection to our world as well. Jesus can bring renewal in war-torn areas. Jesus can bring revival to broken systems and injustices. Jesus can bring rebirth and hope for all who are hopeless. But I want to point something out that I noticed this week. The end of our reading, we often just kind of skip over. But in the end of the reading, Jesus tells Lazarus' friends and family to untie him and let him go. One of the things I was reading this week talked about how Lazarus was alive, that Jesus had brought him back to life, but Lazarus was not free until he was unbound. Jesus prayed, and Lazarus came back to life, but it took others to help set him free. Jesus brings resurrection to the dead places in our world. And that is incredible to behold. But we are the friends and the family that are invited to untie and unbind the resurrected dead and let them go. An example to think about. Think about the work that we've done at Trinity Lutheran Church in Herkimer. They faced death in so many ways. There was flooding and damage and the finances of bringing that all back together. It was all death. And Jesus was there to bring them back to life, to fill them with hope and with purpose and with resurrection. But our work with them, the sheetrocking and the painting and simply walking the journey with them, our work has helped to unbind them so that they can be free to continue on in the ways God has called them to be in the world. Jesus brings resurrection in our lives and into the world. And we who have tasted that resurrection, we are now called to help in the unbinding. We are called to untie those who are experiencing resurrection. Amen.